All right, I think we are ready to go. I'm gonna start recording. We are about to go. We are live on YouTube.
Did you do the
Record.
to cloud?
Record cloud. Thank you. That's. Record. All right, we are
Live
live.
from New York, Saturday night, the transportation. Okay, welcome everybody for the last meeting of the year, very exciting. I don't know what 25 will be like, but certainly 24 was agitated. Okay, so we're supposed to tell you what's going on, so we're going to tell you, this is the text. Okay, this one. So MCB4, as you all know or you don't, has a hybrid policy that can be found on our website. The board members are expected to attend the meeting in person unless they have a disability or extraordinary circumstance. I don't think we have anybody on online, right?
We have David online.
We have.
David's here. David too. Oh, David's here. Hi, David. Oh.
You see?
Great.
How confusing it is. Excuse.
The
The excused members and members of the public will still be able to participate virtually. And members who are joining via Zoom must leave their cameras on. And this meeting is being streamed live on YouTube channel and the transcript is being recorded. And I see that somebody has their hand raised. And what's happening typically is we're going to hear for each item and the committee is going to ask questions and then we'll turn on to the public. So if you are interested in any of the item, you will be given the option when the item comes up during the process, and this person is okay with that. She has taken her hand down. All right, so the first item on the meeting is the Commonwealth Partners bus stop at 34th Street and 9th Avenue. Do we have somebody from the?
Do you want to do quick introductions first?
Here.
Yeah, great. Real quick for those online or those of us who are attending,
Right.
there's just one in person. Just we'll introduce ourselves quickly. I'm Jesse Greenwald. I'm one of the co-chairs of this committee.
Christine Monte, co-chair.
Jake Warren. Rodney Washington. Grant Beller.
Tina Nelson.
Alice Wong.
Alan Austin, PPS member.
Charlie Top. Baxter Steve.
Okay. So Commonwealth Partners bus stop, do we have somebody representing this applicant?
Let me just double check. Sorry, 1 second.
Thank you.
Nick Adams, is that you?
Can you hear?
I see Ellen is raising her hand, so let me promote.
Probably should have tested if you can hear. Yes? Nick, is that you?
Yeah, but there's a,
Oh, we can't hear.
me,
We
but
can't hear you, you have to unmute or.
Can we hear anyone? Can we hear
Oh,
anyone is the question. Might be on our side.
Do you hear me? I'm talking and I have it on the.
No.
Speakers is correct. Test speakers.
Nick, is there others that should be joining?
yes, well, they're already here. They're here, but they're in attendee mode. Alan Gustafson and Ian
Sorry, that's
Gaffney.
I was raising my hand. I just wanted to note that I was.
Okay, I see several Ellens, so I'm just gonna bring them all over.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
Oh, I got your name.
now we get your name,
Sure.
less stressful. What is this?
Let me know if I missed anyone.
So many Ellens.
I think we're
Yeah.
good, even
think
though
it's-
everybody's coming up as me. I think we're fine.
Maybe you can turn down just a little bit. The sound.
Don't have to.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, guys. The
So
floor is
go
yours.
ahead, you can tell us, present your issue and we'll talk about it.
Great. I have a brief presentation that I'm going to run through. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Community Board 4. My name is Ellen Gustafson. I'm an attorney at Greenberg Charg. I'm joined by my colleague, Nick Hawkins, as well as Ian Gaffney, who is a director at Commonwealth Partners. and Alfred, who is a transportation engineer at VHB, and we are here to talk about the relocation of an intercity bus stop on 34th Street between 9th Avenue and Dyer Avenue. So this is the project site. This is the building that Commonwealth Partners owns. This is the existing bus stop that we are looking to relocate. The existing conditions of the bus stop have made it extremely difficult for our client, Commonwealth Partners, to operate its building. People line up in the street blocking pedestrian flow. And buses double park, making it impossible for cars and other vehicles to move across the traffic line. Even when there is no bus here or the bus is not actually in the bus stop, you can see that there are pedestrians blocking the entire way. This has been and the bus also often double parks in front of our client's building on 9th Avenue as well when it's waiting, idling in front of the building, which is bad for patrons. We are here today in part because this has been an ongoing issue. The bus stop has been in existence for a while, but we are looking to sign a new restaurant operator for the bottom retail floor of this building. And in doing that, we will be looking to do outdoor dining. And it is impossible for us to do an outdoor dining space with the existing condition of the bus stop. In advance of meeting with the community board, we looked at some proposed alternative locations for removing this bus stop. We understand that the community board has long looked at the intercity bus stops and has advised that it would like most of those on 11th Avenue. One of our proposed locations is on 11th Avenue, but we have some alternatives as well, and we would welcome the community board's feedback on these sites, as well as any additional sites that it might see as needed. So this is just an overview of the 4 potential sites that we identified as alternative locations. We understand from meeting with both the bid that there may be some issues with some of these sites, but we did want to present all 4 to the community board tonight. The first one is on 34th Street, just up a little bit west of the current location between Dyer Avenue and 10th Avenue. The second is on West 37th Street between 9th Avenue and 10th Avenue. The third location is on West 33rd off 10th Avenue. This is a truck loading and parking, and we think it might be a better location for sort of this type of activity. And the final location is on 11th Avenue per the community board's recommendations for where it would prefer to see intercity bus stops. There are additional sites on 11th Avenue that we would be looking at, but there is some ongoing construction of a hotel farther up on 11th Avenue. And there is now a no standing zone there due to construction. So we would like to examine that as well once we get through the holiday period and can look at sort of pedestrian traffic. We'd be happy to take any questions, the whole project team, if you guys have any questions.
Yes. I think 11th Avenue is the best bet. The other ones are. Right. You have the same trouble. The break.
Just wondering, have you had conversations with the bus companies?
We have made an attempt to reach out to the bus company, but they have been unresponsive. We've made multiple attempts over the last couple of years.
I'm sorry, I'm just confused. The bus, we're being asked to move the bus stop because you want to open up a cafe on the street?
Yes, we're looking to relocate the bus stop so that we could eventually go through the outdoor dining process with the community board.
Right. It would not be in the street. It would be on the sidewalk.
No, okay,
Right.
I just want to
Right,
get it clear, thank you.
Yeah, but I think in addition to that, this is Ian Gaffney with the building ownership. I think in addition to that, just, you know, the pictures that Ellen showed earlier in our presentation, right? It's even without the outdoor dining on the sidewalk next to the building, it's already a problem with the queues that are piling up and blocking sort of the pedestrian flow and also traffic on the street with the double parking, making it a safety hazard.
When was this bus stop established?
Oh, I would say at least 10 years ago.
So,
And by the way, at the time, we were opposed to it.
yeah,
Everybody was opposed to it.
To the bus stop, yeah. Oh, really?
Because, I mean, yeah, at the time, there were a lot of issues with that bus stop.
I'm curious if you guys could go over what the bid told you in terms of any issues with your proposed locations? But were there any issues with 11th Avenue, which members of this board seem to gravitate towards?
They did not raise any issues with 11th Avenue. They did raise issues with 37th Street, and they had suggested that we look at the 10th Avenue location as well, which we added into our study.
I live over there,
So yeah,
That's across the street from here.
no, it's, they want to be on 30.
Oh, right.
So I have two questions. How wide is the sidewalk in front of your building?
That I don't know off the
Yeah.
top of my head. We
Yeah,
could,
it's in the report, but just give me a second, I'll find it.
Okay. Uh,
About 20 feet from the building to curbside.
okay, because you know that the guidelines for doing a cafe now require, I think, 10 or 12 feet of, clear space. So there is not a lot of space to do a cafe anyway. Have you done an analysis of what would be the legal permitted sidewalk cafe?
So just working through the breakdown. So we did take a look at it. There is about 5 feet of furnishing space. So like from the curbside to about 5 feet in, there's like bicycle racks and things of that nature. And then the sidewalk cafe space would probably take up around roughly 5 feet. So there is 10 feet of give or take a foot or so of clear path in the middle with a sidewalk
The
cafe.
sidewalk cafe you're talking about would be about 5 feet, one table and one serving aisle, is that what it is?
That's the estimate that we're
Right.
working with right now.
Okay. All right, so that's fairly limited. The second question I have is that some of the buses you're showing are illegal buses from B&H. And just because there is no bus stop, this one, just
Yes.
because there is no bus stop, they are not going to stop doing it. Okay, so that's something nobody can control.
What's the
Police.
Yeah, I mean, per the direction of community board, we've been making, calls and inquiries to 311 every day, and the police told us to stop making inquiries because we were making so many. So, we're trying all the angles that we possibly can.
We encourage you to keep doing it.
I think too, we would hope that the removal of the actual bus stop sign may discourage illegal bus stopping of these folks and at least give NYPD a little bit more discretion of ticketing if the stop was not there.
No, they have the whole discretion on ticketing. They just need to ask them for a permit and they don't want to do their job.
You gotta admit, they are the most orderly though.
That's true. So what is if that was removed, what would be the regulation for the parking here?
I think we would take we didn't come up with a recommendation for parking. We would take the community board's recommendation and work with DOT, but I think we would hope that it would be maybe no parking, no standing.
Well, it says no parking or standing, there will be people parked there.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so that's that. What about that location on 33rd and 10?
Right, that one.
Are we okay with that?
Well, that's truck lane, so then it's a loading zone.
Yeah.
So why would we be okay with this? If you want trucks to be parked there now, not the bus.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
It doesn't park.
right, so the only one which is really viable is 11th Avenue, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, I'm just putting it on the table here, is that, I think we have two questions. What's the location that would be okay? What's the, but mainly, are we on board with requesting the removal of one use for another use? You know, which is
I ask another
what you were
Yeah.
raising that subject.
And I have another question. There are 3 signs here. Do you know how many buses or
Two
stopping?
companies, which are
There's-
supposed to provide two, sorry.
There's only one company that's permitted, but several companies use it illegally.
Oh, because they are, they are
For whatever reason, they've
branded.
been using it and feel like they have the ability to use it, even though they're not permitted. The only
Because-
bus that's permitted to use the location currently is a group called Best Bus.
Right.
So,
Yes,
the team that raises a great point is, we don't want to start a precedent that, okay, we're moving these buses just because the owner wants it. In this particular case, though, it is a problem, because I live over there where people are queuing up and blocking. We had the similar problem with the company went out of business with, on 34th between 12th and 11th. I think, the company, Megabus went out, but there were huge problems with the sidewalks, and so I think we're just, if we vote on moving this to 11th Avenue, we're just moving the problem to 11th Avenue. With the people queuing and all that, this is an issue, with people queuing and waiting for the buses, and I don't know
well,
what the
this is
solution
why in the past, we have put people on 34th Street and on 12th Avenue, so that even if there is queuing and even if there is a problem, well, it's a problem for less number of people, it doesn't bother. So that has been our strategy all along. But I was more on the subject of, somebody wants to start to use public space one way. And are we supporting of moving another use of the public space, which is approved, in order to facilitate that?
How do you?
I mean, are we? I'm just putting it on the table.
No, there's a problem there anyway, just as David said, there's a problem there anyway. It should be moved, it should go further west. Whether or not they can put some sort of an outdoor, on the sidewalk,
Is it relevant?
that would be determined, when you present it.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I think you're talking about doing sidewalk dining adjacent to the building, I think, so I think it's really not, it's not the same space. And I think we could make an argument that 10 years ago when this was approved, sounds like the community board, to your recollection, disapproved it. But 9th Avenue and 34th was a very different spot then.
Oh, yeah.
We have Manhattan West, we have the building, where we are right now.
and there
So I
were no
think that-
stores, there was no store facade, at that point, the building was a black wall.
HR.
Right,
And
so
there
this
was-
was a black wall, which was not, it was not an inconvenience.
Right, so we have Moynihan Station and Manhattan West and a lot more foot traffic, and they wanna put a nice restaurant there, and maybe, 10 years from now, when we have a lovely affordable housing and not a casino on 11th Avenue and 34th Street, we might have to move it again, because,
Right.
but it is kicking the can down the road, I guess. But 20 years from now, we'll have a new terminal at Port Authority for all these
That's
buses.
That's right. So that's the general consensus, so that makes sense, and then,
You want to just make sure anyone from the public want to speak on this?
Yeah.
Anyone in the attendees online would like to share any comments, questions? Going once, going
Okay.
twice? Okay,
So that would be, the resolution would be to request the move of the bus to 11th Avenue, right?
Mhm.
For all the reasons we just talked about.
yeah, we don't even have to mention the sidewalk cafe. I mean, really, it's about that this is not a great place for a bus stop, and we're moving all of our buses.
Well, and it's accelerated by the fact that
Yes.
now there is a store.
Sure.
But I have a question. How do you move a bus stop that was promised to somebody else without giving the bus company a hearing or a chance?
Well, that's going to be a DOT discussion, that's up to the DOT to make, and eventually they can't do it because they have a permit for X years, right?
Right.
So eventually, we are making supporting a recommendation, that doesn't mean that it's going to happen at all.
Because it's-
No due process in this community.
No, seriously,
Yeah, and
that's a problem with that.
Just to clarify, we would take the community board's recommendation to DOT and present this along with the pedestrian study, which is a legal requirement under the code to move an intercity bus stop. And hopefully along with, the bid and the council members' support to get this bus stop moved. But we wanted to present this to the community board to get your recommendations to make sure that you were supportive as you understand the community, best and have been working on this issue for a very long time. And so we didn't want to, not do that as a first step. And we wanted to be transparent about the fact that we may be back in front of you on a sidewalk cafe in the near future. So that was the purpose.
I have one other question. There are other, and frankly, I understand her argument, but there are other bus stops that are saved for these private companies, right? Or that are allocated to these
Permitted.
yes, perfect word, permitted to these companies. Are we opening up a can of worms? In other words, we're agreeing to move a bus stop because a business has asked us to extend their business into the sidewalk.
Well, I think what we've heard is that, and we know that because we live around here, right? So this is like, there is a lot of problem with this stop. There is a lot of problem with this bus stop. So it's a fact.
I think we do this a lot. I think we do this a lot when the neighborhood changes, and even with MTA bus stops, we've had to move them because, I don't think that that's necessarily a problem.
Fine.
Okay, so that would be a recommendation to move to 11. I think we should also have a letter to NYPD to say, this is not, it seems that it's not being used by the proper licensees. And how come you are not enforcing that?
Where did we okay do this? On 9th or something?
We did OKVNH on 33rd and 9th, and they absolutely don't use it. They are on 9 and they are everywhere except. So that's another thing. I mean, VNH, they need to be, put back in the fold. I mean, exceptionality doesn't apply to bus stops, in my mind. So that's that, right? That's just, and one to NYPD to say, how come you're not enforcing it? Right?
Yep.
Yes.
Would we send some sort of letter to the bus company, though? Would we?
We should CC the bus company, we probably should.
Yeah.
We'll CC
That
the
would
bus
be fair.
companies. Yeah, we'll CC the bus companies.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't be bleeding hard. I mean, they have not been good operators.
Okay, that's good to know.
Don't waste your money.
I do believe them when they say that they've reached out numerous times to try to resolve, the easier way to resolve this is with the bus company, and I'm sure they tried, so.
Okay, so we have a resolution, we have a motion here,
I make a motion for that resolution.
okay?
Second.
All in favor? Yes, opposed? Chris, are you Voting what?
Right.
Max. Indeed, if I compute Christian, I'm going to do.
Max, did you vote?
Yes,
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
okay.
I'm gonna
Brad is
say that
abstaining
You're
too,
abstaining.
yeah.
I'm gonna blame it on the MT, the E-train was. I'm gonna walk through faster than one.
Okay. So that's the first thing. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for
Yeah,
asking.
thank you.
Thank you
and,
for your time.
So
Yes,
that letter will be voted at the full board on the sixth, right? Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
Yes, at the sixth and then sent to DOT at that time.
Great.
and
And you'll be copied on it, obviously.
NYPD, right, we do
Two,
two.
two.
Yeah, and then YPD. Could you send us a note of how many 311 complaints you have sent?
Yes, we will do that.
Okay,
Great.
okay,
Thank you very much.
And they still have a
Thanks.
service. number.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what it says. Yeah.
we just like that, right?
All right, good night, everybody.
Okay.
Next.
Number two is a proposal for 42nd Street Busway and Sidewalk widening. So we've been approached by CB5 and CB6 with an interest to create a busway on 42nd Street. And for anybody who doesn't remember, a busway is what is happening on 14th Street, which means you have only buses and trucks, and emergency vehicle, right? And any other vehicle can get on 14th Street, but they need to get off at the next exit.
One block.
One block, right? So they can service the local business like the deliveries, etc. So they have asked us to participate in that. I think we were open to it. The main reason is that, as you know, we have 3,000 new apartments at the end of 42nd Street, 12th Avenue. And they are using 20 jeepneys to bring people to the subway. And second, the bus terminal is going to be renovated with 50% more customers. And if they had a bus that works properly, they could go cross town and really would be appropriate. So I don't know whether it would have happened before that, but at least we are setting the stage here to say, look, we're going to need that, right? And so that's the proposal. And the vote here is the motion would be to join our name on that common joint letter.
Did everyone see the letter in the Dropbox?
Yes.
Yes.
To send the letter in the Dropbox with the name of CD4 and say, please study it. Now, interesting enough, next month, we're going to have a presentation from DDC, which is the construction part of DOT. And they want to widen the sidewalk to accommodate some bollards to protect the businesses. So I don't know what's going to happen, because if they do a DDC, that's a capital project. And then it would be replaced later on. So I'm just not going to worry about that too much. But it's a little bit out of sync, I would say. But that's the way it is.
And we're doing this now just because I think the other CBs are sort of waiting on,
They have done it.
they've done it, and so, for us to delay further, waiting
Yeah.
for the next presentation.
That's a good point, yeah.
I think it's in general a good idea. I would love to actually close the street to all vehicles and just make it a big pedestrian plaza. That's my one vision. The one concern I have, because we have probably more bus pickup spots than they have in even CB5. I know they have them there too, but we have more because we're closer to the tunnel.
By bus pickup in an MTA?
No, even the commuter buses.
Oh, the jeepney.
There are, even the buses going to the tunnel, going to New Jersey and upstate New York and beyond. But it's really a lot of local commuters stop there. That sidewalk, sometimes when we have issues on 34th Street, we have to prevent this from becoming 42nd Street. So those bus pickup spots are really a big part of the issues we have in 42nd Street, making it passable. So if this is coming in conjunction with sidewalk extension,
that, you know, how much can we extend that? Because that'll help,
Right,
because if we end up with more buses, why don't we stop here, because there's better accommodations for the buses. That's my consideration. Now we're gonna end up with more of those.
right.
little-
Well, I think the major objective here is to expand the sidewalks, right? So on every part, you
Has to
know,
happen.
Grand Central, etc., this is all very, very pedestrian. And then the buses, hopefully, some of those buses at the time of the Port Authority
Mhm.
are going to get inside the Port Authority. Not all of them, but, you know, most of them. So hopefully those two things are going to work in this concert.
But yes, we have to, that is an impassable sidewalk, and I'm sure I don't wanna jump the gun on next month's
Yes,
conversation, but there's a chance I'm gonna have a lot of work coming up next month, I might not be in New York City. So I'll just put this out there now,
right,
because that sidewalk is impassable, all you have to do is try to walk along by Widening Station, and they have those bollards there. It makes for pedestrian jam ups that are
yeah,
very challenging, so I don't know how, I don't think I'm gonna like the idea of bollards on that
putting them on
street, but, we need that kind of space for those loading zones and more buses and everything.
yeah.
Are private buses allowed on 14th Street?
Private, yeah, they can use the bus man.
It is,
It's
it's not just the M14.
It has to do with the axles on the front of the bus.
No, it's not, oh,
14th Street.
Yeah.
when we're talking about
You
14,
just
as
asked as an example.
an
There are no
example.
private cars.
There are no private buses.
Private
Private
buses,
bus.
like inner city buses, can they,
Yes.
they can use it.
Yes,
But they don't, because they're not convenient, it's not.
It's not near the
convenient
top.
to
right,
Right,
but if it was on 42nd Street, they would definitely use it.
I think 14th is amazing, and I think we should have it at 57, 23, 42, 34.
No, it's great, and you know, Jamaica Avenue, where they also did the busway in Queens, is also a fantastic example.
Yeah.
But it would be slightly different than 14th Street, because at 14th Street, between Third and Ninth Avenue is where the busway is. Here we have a subway in the middle section of 42nd Street. We really need at the ends,
Yes.
like the UN.
We need to go all the way,
Exactly,
right, where we have the residents.
and it
I mean,
complements
Tudor City
Mhm,
to Silverstein.
exactly, and it
These are the
complements the
things.
pedestrian spaces already there. Times Square, Grand Central,
Exactly.
Project Square.
Right. Okay, so, do we have a motion to sign on?
Anyone
I'm
from the
sorry.
public who'd like to
Thank you.
speak? I see a couple of hands. I don't know
Good.
if, we see several hands on the protection of
Oh,
42nd
yeah.
Street. So
Okay.
Janine, do you wanna move people over?
All right, I'll bring over John, Hassan, and Daniel.
Thank you. John, floor is yours.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Sorry, we're gonna go with John first, and then Hassan, and then Daniel.
Oh, sorry. Okay, you got it.
Hi, yeah, my name is John Noble. I don't live in CB4, I live in CB6, but I just wanted to say that I support this idea of a busway and sidewalk expansion, and that it would be, I support the idea. I'm campaigning for this kind of notion, and that sidewalk space is something that we desperately need. We need to increase sidewalk space and help pedestrians move along the corridor better. And this is one of the slower buses in the city, so a busway would be very helpful too. So I just wanted to say I'm in support of this too. Thanks.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hassan?
Hi. Thanks for having your meeting and everyone being there today. I just want to share that I want to talk about the other side of the equation a little bit. I realize people love expansion, and I'm not against expanding for bus lanes. It makes sense. But it becomes like what's the area really used as, right? So, for example, on 22nd Street, we are effectively guinea pigs on an idea of expanding your corners to have less parking and more seating, as in bricks, like large blocks on 22nd Street. If anyone in CB4, you've probably seen them at some point walking across 7th or 8th Avenue. And you've also seen a steady stream of drug usage every time when you come home at night. So the idea of just expanding to expand sounds nice, but there's actual consequences to the expansion. You see more drug usage, you have more garbage and litter that proliferates because the street cleaners can't clean the area, so you have to depend on volunteer or restaurants or residential supers of buildings to clean it at their, scheduled cleaning time, if and when it can happen. But the point is, it makes it much more dirtier than it's ever been before, and much more frequented by people who aren't from the neighborhood, or for sure they're not from the neighborhood, and they just smoke their drugs and enjoy themselves to whatever means they want. And I was staunchly against it last time, and I just feel like hearing more expansion, it can't be a blind expansion of we just give more free space for the homeless or the people in need to just deteriorate in public and in bask in the sunlight, because it's not the locals sitting on the blocks. Like I said a year ago at this very meeting, it will be the homeless that are on those blocks, and it is now. So I just want to make sure that is alerted. I know nothing will change. I know my block has to suffer in perpetuity. It's just the way it is. I accept it. It's the consequence of being in a big city.
Okay, oh, somebody, how did you? Oh, we lost you for 1 second.
Okay.
No, I don't want to, let's go to the.
Okay,
next.
thank you for the comments.
Right.
Daniel's next, and then, so Michael. Daniel?
Thank you. Yeah, I also support the sidewalk expansion and the busway. I think that would reduce the traffic on 14th Street and it would make the buses a lot faster. It would really speed things up along 42nd Street. And as far as expanding the sidewalks, that won't lead to more drug use because that would bring people out. There would be more people on the street, on the sidewalks, and people don't like to use drugs in public. They like to do that in the shadows. So bringing more people onto the street would not lead to more drug use. And Manhattan has an outreach consortium that can engage with people living on the streets too and offer services to them. So there won't be more drug use on the street and it won't make things more dirty. It would actually make things cleaner. So I support both of these projects. I think that would be very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Michael has to?
Yeah, Michael was with the, Michael,
Okay, that's.
Michael, are you with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh,
you're here to speak on the 42nd Street?
Yeah, thank you so much. I support and welcome 42nd Street to the 21st century. And I welcome this proposal to expand sidewalk access and busway. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Michael.
So do we have a motion? What?
No,
No.
Miriam's she's presenting for another topic.
Do you have a motion?
I move that we support the expansion but are against drug use.
Okay. Second.
Yeah, second. So all those in favor of supporting the letter that's in the Dropbox.
Right.
The motion.
What did you say? I just like we have the.
He said he's supporting the letter that supports the bus lane and is against drug use. All right.
Clear.
Yeah.
Okay, the third item is current traffic issues on the 400 block of West 19th Street. So the 400 block, that's between 10 and 11, right? 9 and 10, okay. Who is here to present this?
Sergey was the one who made the request, but I'm not seeing him anywhere online. If there's anybody else, please raise your hand.
I know Miguel wants to speak on this, but I know he's not the presenter. He just saw it on the agenda and has things that we'd like to say. So who brought this to us? You remember?
No, you got the email, Janine.
All right, I mean, I'll bring Miguel over, but the presenter himself is not on.
What's his name, the presenter?
It's Sergey Rita.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, well, we'll listen to Miguel, but we won't make a vote or review the items. Okay.
Oh, Miguel, that's nice. Miguel.
Good evening. Hi, how are you, everyone? And I appreciate everything you guys do. The concern that I have, and I don't know if anybody has noticed it, the DOT has decided to put a 2-car lane on 19th Street. As you know, Christine, because you were a big advocate with me in 2017 when a child from Fulton Houses was actually killed by 2 cars deciding to race from 9th to 10th Avenue. This to me makes no sense. This is just a tragedy waiting to happen on 19th Street, especially if a truck parks there. You're gonna get blindsided on the other side when you try to cross the street. Why the DOT would do something like this, I don't know. And I have a very, very concern about this and would appreciate if CB4 will reach out to DOT and put this back to a one-car lane going from 9th to 10th Avenue.
Miguel, when did this happen? Do you know? When do you know what?
This could have been, I swear, maybe yesterday. I was walking
This
20,
is recent.
and I said, when did this ever? I'm in Chelsea 64 years. I'm 64 years old. And it's always been one car lane.
Oh, we got
that's
Wait, this is
I'm glad you're on.
Hey, it's Colleen from DOT. So, hey, Miguel, it's so nice to see a familiar face. So I remember the incident Miguel is speaking about. It happened a few years ago. And I missed it. What did we do? I missed the conversation.
So this street on 19th Street going from 9th to 10th Avenue has always been a one-lane car, for one car lane going from 9th to 10th. For some reason, it's painted now for two cars to go from 9th to 10th Avenue. And remember, when you reach 10th Avenue, that it's a one-way the opposite way. So those cars on that side coming from 11th are now going to make a left. So now you got three cars going in the same direction at one time.
Oh,
okay. So I'm not aware of this change. So you know what? I'm gonna have to find out why this was done. Yeah.
But I mean, what we could do is, because I was looking at the online, what we could do is to say, look, we want to go back to one lane. We want wider sidewalks because a lot of the sidewalks on there are narrower than the 8 feet, right? And so instead of doing a second lane, do wider sidewalks and then do neck down at the entrance at the beginning, which would kind of, narrow the flow. Yes.
The letter also has another issue with the closing of the entrance to 14th Street off of 9th Avenue by the Avenue Street.
I didn't read that. Yeah.
There's a picture of it also. If you go by there, they closed off the other side of
the slip lane.
Oh, the Gainsbourg, the plaza, the through lane. Yeah, when the through lane is closed, right? Right. But I think if we were, let's focus on this street, right? This street was one lane. It's a dangerous street. We know that. And we should have neck down at the entrance. And we should have tried to ask for wider sidewalks. And a wider side, because you go along and there are a lot of places where between the tree pits, and there's nothing. So it's a better, and this is along the, the night shop projects, and I think we need to be, I mean, I would go for that even though the people are not there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Miguel,
saying let's calm down the street. Right?
Yeah, because they do have some speed bumps there, but I don't think they're really effective over there. Like,
They have speed bumps, but.
They're saying in the letter that the speed bumps
Isn't
actually
it
make
in
it worse.
17th Street,
When
the
the trucks
speed
hit the
bump?
speed bumps and they like.
Miguel?
There's a
The
speed bump.
speed bump is on what, on 17 or 19?
No, they actually put a speed bump there also just yesterday. There's a speed bump there also on 19th.
Yesterday?
Literally, yeah, all of this happened within a week.
Oh, okay.
And then remember, the other thing is the proposal for the NYCHA redevelopment. That's the first building that's going to be demolished is on 19th Street. It's building 11 right there on the same block.
Right. Okay, so do we?
Wait,
have a
I'm
motion?
just curious on the speed bumps. The letter it has, I would say, negative commentary about the speed bumps. It doesn't seem pro speed bump actually, which surprised me a little bit. It said says the noise and vibrations are exacerbated by 2 speed bumps. And I think there might be.
Yeah.
All the commentary on the speed bumps is actually that they are at least worsening, they might improve speed, but they are worsening the noise and the rattling issue. So I was sort of unsure what the
But we're
writer
not
of the
asking,
letter
we're
actually
not
wanted.
asking for speed bumps. We're going
Okay.
to talk about the lengths,
Mm.
and we're going to talk about the sidewalk, and we're going to talk about the neck down. And then, you know, the rest of it is what it is.
Okay.
You know, we can't address everything.
Right, historically, when people ask us, you know, for, you know, support for a speed bump. Our first question
We
back
tell
is usually, are you sure you want a speed bump?
Yeah.
Because of the, and Miguel's bringing up actually an interesting issue, because that's gonna be where the first demolition on the site is. So first of all, if there are gonna be trucks coming down there now,
Sure.
which they shouldn't be, but we know that it isn't always enforcement about trucks being on somebody's residential.
Well, that's one of the
Those-
complaints about the letter, is
those
like, we have a zillion of trucks.
Yeah, those speed bumps are just gonna get more noise with trucks going over them, but the other thing that makes me wonder is if perhaps they added that lane because they're anticipating more construction vehicles coming through. So I'm almost wondering if that's what it.
Yeah, but it's not approved yet. Okay,
Well,
right, but that's a good point.
I don't know, you know, but again, if that's the issue, then we should also be saying, but trucks aren't supposed to be allowed on 19th Street. Right, so.
The truck route is blocked according to the letter. Truck route goes to 14th Street, and they blocked off that passageway next to the plaza.
They don't go to 14th Street, they go to 15.
Right.
The 14th Street doesn't go to
15th
the
is
high.
even worse now, because you have a whole, all that roadway is,
Dining.
dining,
The
so.
roadway dining is not different from a collection of cars. We have to say, when we see a roadway dining, we need to think, oh, we have a collection of SUVs.
Yeah, but 15th Street isn't a truck route either, is it?
Yes,
14th Street is the truck route.
no, I mean,
15th also?
Is the letter incorrect? The letter seems to be stating that it's 14th Street.
it
Maybe,
is 14, but it de facto it's not.
In the real world.
Yeah. Okay, do we have a motion here?
Wait, there's also one other thing, Christine, on 19th Street. There was construction that took place for a few years from a building.
I saw that.
It's done, the construction. The no parking signs for that construction is still up, saying no parking from 8 to 6 p.m. And it used to be alternate side.
Okay, well, but we're not doing the parking.
Okay. But thank you for
Can I get a motion, please?
Motion.
You're kidding me. All in favor?
Motion to close up.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Thank you.
So,
Thanks,
thank
Miguel.
you.
Thanks for paying attention to our agenda and
Yes.
thanks, no one else was gonna speak on this, so there you go. Thanks, Miguel.
You're welcome. Good night.
Okay,
Great,
all right.
moving on.
Bus stop shelters on 23rd Street. I think that area,
Miriam?
you're up.
Not only 23rd Street, I thought this is meant for the whole district, as an issue of making awareness of the need for bus stops, which may not be, not yet, Janine, okay? Thank you for all this help, but let me, just
Sure,
introduce
just
a little bit.
Yeah, just let me know.
Okay. We become aware of the need of bus stops when we're waiting 20 minutes in the snow. And we also realize that with climate changes, we can expect more of severe weather. To me, this is somewhat parallel to needing elevators in the subway, which people are usually oblivious to until they need it themselves and sprain an ankle or have some kind of injury, and they realize that negotiating steps is very hard. New York City actually has 15,000 bus stops. 20% have shelters, 17% have benches, not very high. Worst is in the poorer areas, especially Queens and the Bronx, which also have fewer subways so that people are more dependent on buses. I walked down 23rd Street and I counted about, unlike the other statistics, much more positive, but a third approximately of the bus stops had no benches, no shelters. I've been in touch with Edmund Asiedo, who's the accessibility coordinator of DOT, and he said that the DOT is currently installing benches and beaning bars in all 5 boroughs, and we can send the request to him through links and contacting him by email or by phone. There was a concern about sharing his information. This is his work information, and he sent me an email today specifically encouraging that because he wants to help people who are applying for that. I asked him why he's only mentioning benches and not shelters, which for me, you know, being drenched in bad weather waiting for a bus is a concern. That's something that I think can be possibly mentioned in a letter from CB4, that as they go through the area and improve some of the bus stops, that they also considered shelters. It's not high on the agenda. It's more expensive. It also has to meet certain very specific space and placement criteria, such as 10 feet from hydrant, 5 feet from trees, 3 feet from traffic lights, etc. So to include a shelter, which I think to me is an important feature, I think that has to be addressed and mentioned to DOT. Statistics, there's been some studies by transit groups such as Transportation Alternatives, also with ecological concerns about adding shelters, such as more trees, solar panels on roofs, reclaiming parking space for shelters when sidewalks are narrow. I know that's a hot topic, but that there are some interesting points by Transportation Alternatives, and the New York Times wrote an article about it in August of this year. So if you want those links, I have them, but I found them very easily on the internet through Google. I'm proposing partly that we raise awareness of the need, and as we pass a bus stop that we have used many times or noticed, and there's no amenities for everyone, people with disabilities, seniors, and everyone. Nobody wants to get, you know, wait in heavy rain. That we take the next step and follow some of the links and see what happens if we can get approval for improving the local bus stop. And
So,
now, what? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, Miriam, so I'm trying to get to the point where we know what we are asking for. And I think generally speaking, thank you for collecting all this information. It's really an eye opener. Can we, do we have a list of the bus stop on 23rd Street which do not have a shelter?
I went through that, but I can get them to you as I walk down. I wrote them down. I don't have them here.
Could you get that to us, and we can send a letter to DOT and MTA asking to install, you know, shelters on those locations. And then
I'm sorry, it doesn't have to be only 23rd. That just happens to be where I walk.
But it has to be only 23rd. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you to go all over the neighborhood. So it has to be only 23rd. And
it's a start.
And we're starting with that, and we're going to send that, and then maybe in 1 or 2 months we are going to ask the people of DOT to come and present their process to install the shelter. So we get a little bit, you know, smart about it.
As a first step. Yeah, my battery is running low, so I just don't want to lose this, so I just want to plug it
So
in.
if I can just say something, it's Colleen Chattergoon from the City Department of Transportation. We are more than happy to look at or take requests for locations where there are no bus shelters. But keep in mind that not every location fits the criteria or meets the eligibility because maybe the sidewalk might be too narrow or there might be, utilities underneath, the roadway. So there are a lot of factors that we have to take into consideration. But again, if you are, walking around a particular neighborhood and you see that there's a need for a shelter, you're more than welcome to contact the community board, email them. They will send me the location, or you can also call it into 311, just so you know.
Okay,
It's also
well,
not. Go ahead, Mary.
self-available and we've, had interactions before, so, I already know him and he was very amenable to either using the links, and I'll get to that page in a minute, or to call him or email him.
So this is all very valuable and you are doing such an amount of back work, which is going to help. And the letter here is just going to help you get more leverage to do those things. So we need from you the list of the stops on 23rd Street, which are not, which do not have a need to have a shelter. And I propose that we send a resolution that requests those shelters on that street, and.
And Miriam, if we're limited to just 23rd Street, I'm more than happy to help walk the 23rd Street.
So we can, 23rd Street, and typically
Yeah, starting somewhere.
CB4, we should do this in CB4. Typically, we're not supposed to do the whole of 24th Street.
Yeah,
So we can make that as a comment, but it's.
Yeah, 23rd exactly.
You wanted to, yes.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
All right, can we show the slides quickly?
I think we're done with the,
Miriam, you have Roberts here.
yeah.
Can we let him speak?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Robert. Yeah.
My name is Robert Espedo. I'm from CB5. I live in the area. I live on 28th Street. But I take the crosstown bus going west. It's on where we had the
It's at 23rd.
23rd and 6th, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know there's space there.
Yes,
There's space
well, it's complicated because, they have utilities under it and there's a whole thing we don't see.
Oh.
That could be an objection to.
Right. Well, what I do like also about this, I feel there should be a shelter there because maybe from a Solis Manor, you live kind of nearby.
Right.
Also, that stop right there is not that far from the station, which is not accessible, by the way.
Right.
But it's near that station.
Right.
And so, I'm just hoping that it doesn't rain when I'm waiting for a bus.
All right, anybody from the committee?
We'll make sure that that's definitely the list, yeah.
I was just curious, is there various size bus stops that you could use?
Yeah, there's big and small.
There is?
Now, wide and narrow.
And and we're also saying, I guess, in the letter we'll be saying, where there's not a bench, put a bench, and if possible, a shelter, because there's some places where there's not even a bench, right?
Yeah, but I would start saying, give us a shelter.
Yeah,
If
right.
you cannot give us a shelter, put a bench.
Sorry, I meant to say that. I did, it didn't mean to say that.
If you could put a bench, you could put a shelter.
Huh?
You could put a bench, you could put a shelter.
No,
No, I think if you.
no, if you put a shelter is larger, they need
Yeah, but
electricity,
sometimes
they
it's
need all
different,
that stuff. So it
It has to meet
possible.
certain criteria.
Let me finish. This is possible that, you get to a situation where you say, it doesn't work. But putting a bench is really easy. So that's a lower requirement.
Well, it's the same thing like outdoor toilets. Maybe we need to reassess the criteria that we use. Must be a
Yes.
whole criteria, maybe needs to be updated.
And that's what I'm saying is that maybe we invite the DOT and we hear the criteria and we hear everything, and then we send a letter about that, right? But right now, we're going to be like tactical. Let's order the stuff. We want that. And then we can go more into, because if we change the measurement, this is like a 2-year process, right? So this is not going to happen in 2 minutes.
We hope nobody confuses.
Let's do a motion. Motion? Yes?
Yeah.
Great.
Yes? 23rd Street, yes, okay. All right, thank you, Miriam.
Can I show the slides? Can I show the slides quickly?
Let's see.
Or you want to move
No, we don't
on?
have the time. We don't have, I think everybody had the thing in the Dropbox, so we watched it. I watched it, okay, and it was very helpful. Thank you, Miriam.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Janine, for doing the work.
Yeah. Okay, and the last presentation vote is West 57th Street Neighborhood Association to present proposal for removal of bike corral in front of the Watson Hotel.
Yes, hello,
These
you're
are
here in person.
gentlemen.
If you want to just come up front here so that the speakers and the camera can capture.
camera
If you just
picks
stand
you up.
here to the right of the projector, usually that's a good spot. Just to the right of the projector there.
I have some slides.
Oh, did you send them to,
I tried, I did.
And?
Well, I sent them 3 hours ago.
Alright,
Oh, okay, let's
There's a
listen.
bunch of different.
No, let's just.
Oh, wait, it's 3 hours. Oh, Janine, did we get the slides?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Did we get slides on this from the 57th Street?
Yes, I'll pull it up right now.
Okay, alright, so Janine's got it for you.
All right, thank you.
Well, operation.
Yes.
Nice. It's not nice to follow that, right?
Okay.
Well, I was hoping I'd be able to click. Do I have control?
No, you don't have to just ask her to say next, just say next slide and she'll
If you say next slide, she'll do it.
Next slide.
Well, each point kind of comes up click by click.
Otherwise,
everyone just reads and no one lets.
Okay, so everybody does that, so I'm sure you'll do it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, so we're just.
You have to be on the side over there.
That side of the projector. Perfect. That's great. Excellent. You're good.
Okay, thanks for having us. We appreciate it. We come from the West 57th Street Neighborhood Association, so appreciate you having us to the agenda. Click.
See? It's like Siri. Really?
Thank you,
Very
Jerry.
smooth. So we are the West 57th Street Neighborhood Association. We serve an area between West 56th to West 58th Street. From 8th Avenue, over to 11th Avenue, and we're dedicated to protecting and maintaining quality of life. We have citizens in our group from rent controlled studios up to beautiful condo and co-op owners. We have business owners, renters, owners, everything. So we serve the community. We are dedicated to protecting and maintaining the quality of life. That is it. Next, please. Okay, the issue, these are supposed to come through one by one, but that's okay. The issue is this bicycle corral on 440 West 57th Street. It detracts from quality of life. It is, from our understanding, improperly cited, however you say it. It's, from what our understanding is, it was improperly installed, and it was removed in August, but it was put back in again. So, next slide, please. We'll run through these. Okay, I just want to emphasize, it's called the bicycle corral, but, make no bones about it. This is being used exclusively for mopeds, and it's being used exclusively for delivery mopeds. I'm all for removing cars from the road. I hate traffic. I'm constantly fighting it, so I'm all about that. However, there are no bicycles in this bicycle corral. It brings with it delivery drivers, and that brings a whole host of other issues to the block. Obviously with the increased moped activity, if you have 5 mopeds and then you have 50 mopeds, that's a heck of a lot more activity up and down the block. That's a greater danger to our pedestrians at crosswalks. It's also greater danger to motorists, especially because most of these mopeds, they're not registered, they're not licensed drivers, they're not insured. So I've already seen 2 accidents earlier this year. You know, the liability falls on that person that does have insurance in this case. Next slide, please. But let's really get into the quality of life here. I mean, how does this affect not just people passing by our street, whether they're walking up and down it or whether they're driving up and down it? The real impact comes to the residents through loitering. Unfortunately, it is a reality. I know we don't like to hear it. I know you guys probably hear it quite a bit. But when there is loitering, there's increased noise. And when you're talking about groups of 20 or 30 people congregating on a street, that noise amplifies as the floors go up. Yeah, smoking. We've had people in our groups, West 57th Street group that are, you know, they live on low floors. And I know that's not a DOT issue, but it is a byproduct. And we have had some recent bout of violence as a result of increased loitering on the block. I'll get to that later. I'm not trying to blow smoke here. These are all credible facts. The mopeds, as everyone hopefully knows by now, have incessant alarms. They're extremely temperamental, these mopeds. We live on West 57th Street. It's a thoroughfare. We have trucks, 18-wheelers going by constantly. Every time one of those goes by, a moped alarm goes off. Every time there's bad weather, rain, the alarms go off. Every time there is someone getting in and out, locking it, unlocking it, an alarm goes off. So you can imagine what that's like with 50 mopeds in the rack. It gets to be quite frustrating, especially at the end of the day. We also have garbage pileup as well. That's been a little bit better as of late. We've been working with the Department of Sanitation, but it has a tendency to pile up by the racks because there's more individuals by those corrals. Next slide, please. So this is what the corral looked like in December of 2023. It's not what it looks like now, but we know that this is what is possible. You know, obviously it's unsightly, it's ugly, you know, let's not dance around that. And, you know, it's really not a great environment for our residents to walk up and down that block. This is much worse than it is now, but this is what we believe it will become again. Next slide, please. Okay, so, you know, we don't want to just complain willy-nilly, we want to actually have facts to support this. So we took a look at the New York City Department of Transportation Street Design Manual for bike corrals specifically. There are some sitting regulations as far as distance to certain structures. Has to be 15 feet from fire hydrants, taxi stands, hotel loading zones, 10 feet from driveways, 5 feet from entrances and curb cuts, 4 feet from standpipes, and 3 feet from other things like grates, utility covers, and tree bed edges. Next slide, please. So here you can see it's not 15 feet from a hotel loading zone. It's actually in the hotel loading zone. Next slide, please. Here you can see it's not 10 feet from a driveway. Next slide, please. And if actually, I'm sorry, pardon me, if you can go back one slide. Just another byproduct of the rack is this is a pretty populated garage. CBS employees use it. People up and down the block use it. The view is obstructed for drivers pulling out. They can't really look eastward when that rack is filled up. Next slide, please. Can't be 5 feet from the principal entrance of the building, as you can see it is right there. Coming out perpendicular to the curb. Next slide, please. Can't be within 5 feet of the planter. You can see the planters right there, right in the middle of it, several of them. Next slide, please. Can't be within 4 feet of standpipes. There's actually several standpipes that it's directly in front of. Next slide, please. And it can't be, it's got to be at least 3 feet from a grate or utility cover. You can see it's pretty much on top of it. Next slide, please. Same thing for the tree beds. Next slide, please. Okay, so we looked at how this process happens, because we on the block wanted to figure out what took place here. How did this thing get here in the first place? And we went back and well, first we looked at how this process goes, and from our understanding on the Department of Transportation Street Design Manual, this comes right from that webpage. Anyone can request a bike corral but must agree to be a maintenance partner. And the DOT and the partner present proposed bike corrals to the local community board for its approval. So we scoured the minutes. We looked for the minutes of general MCB4 meetings and of this transportation planning committee meeting. We couldn't find a single piece of information about this bike corral. We have no idea how it got here. Next slide, please. So we decided to communicate to the MCB4, to the Department of Transportation. We put a take notice citing these grievances against where it's positioned that run against the actual guidance and regulations. And this receipt was acknowledged by the Commissioner's Correspondence Unit. You can see proof of that right there. The original take notice was filed in June of this year. The response by the DOT was swift. It was in July. And we were very happy about that. They said there was going to be some appropriate action taken if warranted. Next slide, please. And we saw the removal, so we were all thrilled. We were all dancing in the streets about this. This was really great. The bike rack was the removal started on August 1st. The process was in stages. It finished by August 10th. We were really thrilled. It made an huge impact to the block. Everything was quiet, peaceful again. Couldn't hear a pin drop. Brought back 7 parking spots, which was great for the workmen and contractors and the residents on the block. They had street parking. It was just really great overall. We're all happy. The loitering was reduced. So life was good. Next slide, please. And then there was milling. And after the milling, somehow this bike rack got right back in its place. So the reinstallation took place in mid-October, and we were pleased with how smooth the streets were, but obviously we're all not as pleased with the bicycle corral. Next slide, please. So since reinstallation, we have seen the number of moped use increasing daily. Again, now it's a low number, but we see it's increasing up into the dozens now. It's a big rack, about 30 loops. You could fit 60 mopeds. So now we've got increased loitering, and that's in addition to, we've been working with our local NYPD officers, our NCOs, and our Midtown North Precinct, in really cracking down. Their hands are kind of tied on loitering. They really have to catch people in the act. And then, of course, as soon as they drive up, everyone scatters. So it's really hard for the NYPD to enforce loitering. And so we have seen a spat of violence. There were fights that broke out October 6th and November 23rd. There were arrests made for the October 6th fight. So that is an unfortunate effect of more loitering. Next slide, please. Okay, so where are we now? The corral is still used exclusively for delivery vehicles. You can go there anytime today, tomorrow. You will not see a single bicycle in there. You will only see mopeds. Furthermore, these mopeds are covered with tarps because they've gotten wise to the fact that cops can't pick up the tarps and they can't check their plates. They're not allowed to do that. So if they're legally registered, they'll never know. Those plates are stolen, they'll never know. Next slide, please. And then there's the use, is there the demand for it? You know, we understand there may have been a need for it when there was enough individuals that were using bicycles, that were using that bicycle corral. The Watson hotel owners have kindly put a bicycle rack right there on the premises. So everyone's bicycles are now actually put away off the sidewalk. So there may not even be a need anymore for a bicycle corral in that space. Next slide, please. So in summary, there might not be a demand for bicycle, I say bicycle in underline because it's different than a moped corral, this is for bicycles. It's installed against, from what we understand from the website, it was not run through the procedures that were published, as far as how to get one of these installed, for all we know, there's no maintenance partner tied to it. It was improperly, sited, situated, what have you. And it's a huge detraction from the quality of life, from the noise, the littering, the garbage, and the increased moped activity, which is tough, especially for some of our older residents on the block that aren't as swift in their judgment and their reflexes. And so we just find that it's of minimal to no benefit for local taxpaying residents. It's not like bicycles are using it. It's not like people are choosing to take a bicycle right now, commute home to West 57th Street and park it in that corral. It's not serving that intended benefit, which we think is probably the benefit for most of these bicycle corrals, but the intent is in reality not actually occurring. And so, you know, it was already removed, we're just asking you to remove it again. And we've already put folks on notice. You know, we obviously don't want to have to engage in any sort of Article 78 action because it's a pain in the butt, it's tons of time and money for everyone, but. You know, reluctantly, we'll pursue action if we have to, but we really don't think we need to.
Okay.
Just a first initial question, which is, well, first of all, thank you for the presentation, thank you for coming here, thanks for your concerns. You asked DOT last time around to remove it, and they did, they were pretty swift about it. Why aren't we just going, we don't know how it appeared, but why aren't we just going through that same process again? If they responded to your concerns last time.
It was for the million.
Yes, it was because of the. It
was a coincidence.
Well, yeah, we're not naive enough to think it was done 100%. We think it was likely because of the milling. But at the time, it was nothing short of predominant. They may have removed it early, we don't know.
Yes.
So first, I think there's a larger conversation about the bike racks and the delivery vehicles and the whatever, so on the condition that we maybe get a chance to talk about that after this issue. I just want, because I think this might be more straightforward, as was outlined here. It's clearly not in compliance with DOT regulations, where it's cited. It didn't go through the process, I don't have any recollection of any proposal for a bike rack here.
No, it didn't go through the process because that was at the beginning of the Rodale and the migrants.
Right.
So what happened is that there was, that was, if I recall, and that was done as a, you know, an elected official direct request saying, let's put it in.
Well, so, again, I wanna have a conversation later about, you know, what do we do about delivery and things like that, because there's a need for that to happen somewhere. But this, as was shown here, and I did a walk by because it's not for my own, it's just to kind of look at it. The bike rack doesn't meet the criteria to be there. It really, I mean, it shouldn't be at that particular location. I think it's pretty straightforward. I would agree with these points.
So we have, I have questions. I have questions for you.
We just do the questions first, and then we'll talk about it.
It's, so there are like 30 loops, right? So it accommodates 60 bikes or whatever it is.
Yes.
And then what has been built inside the Watson accommodates how many bikes?
Probably over 100, so it's pretty large.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess my reading is that the issue is more about the concentration. Like what if we were saying, okay, take that, break that down into 3 or 4 or 5 racks and put them somewhere, you know, along the, I guess that would address, and indeed it would have to be compliant with the guidelines.
We would hope
Obviously.
the guidelines are.
But I mean, to me, that's my first reaction is to say, okay, you know, because the thing that would be, that we know is that we don't have a rack, and whether it's for a moped or a bike, we know that the moped and the bike are going to end up on the sidewalk. So that's the balance we try to do all the time, is to say, look, you don't want to. You know, when it is in the roadway, at a minimum, you don't have it on the sidewalk.
Right.
And in order to park on the sidewalk, the bikes and the moped will ride on the sidewalk, which becomes even worse for
Right.
pedestrians. So that's where generally we come out.
It's a fine line.
Right.
But having a rack that big.
No, it's
that's
very
now
big.
specifically for mopeds.
Yeah.
What it does is it draws in mopeds as essentially a business parking spot for people who don't live there. So this is all black market stuff.
Well, I mean, but the racks are not meant for people who are living there. The racks are generally meant to,
Right.
I want to drop my bike and I want to go to a store and then I come back, you know. So it's not really the concept,
Right.
but it's, I understand that having such a large one is an issue. I mean,
Where were the mopeds parked and during the repaving? When the
Where
2
did
3
they
months,
go?
where did they go?
They were gone.
Because presumably, I mean, this is the same situation from the Row Hotel, right? We have these hotels that have thousands of migrants, they don't have living rooms, they're living, you know, multiple people in a hotel room. So they do like to they need to congregate somewhere, I know that that's a quality of life issue for neighbors if there's noise and smoke. But presumably a lot of the mopeds belong to the people that live in the hotel, right? So I'm just curious do you
They
not hear
actually
that?
don't. That's a good question.
I'm with Michael, no, the moped drivers, the families are living in the hotel, they're lovely. Kids get on the school bus every morning, the parents dress them beautifully, they're fine, we invite them for holidays. And we're worried about the kids being run over by the mopeds, but the people who are putting the mopeds there have nothing whatsoever to do with the hotel. They're
Generally, in our district, the moped drivers are generally migrants, and the migrants live in that hotel,
And
so
delivery.
I feel like there might be some correlation, I agree, certainly not all.
So yes, there is a Venn diagram you could make of moped drivers and migrants, and there's a big overlap in the middle. That's correct, and that was the case at one point here. Things have changed. A lot of the mail delivery drivers are no longer living in that shelter. It's more for women and children. And so.
It's their family members, but they're not living there anymore, okay.
Okay, all right, so that's.
I'm just sort of curious, because I live right near there.
Sure.
And I have not seen what you're describing. So who are these people that you're saying were loitering there? Who are
You
they?
walked up and down the block?
That's
That's
I
your
know you're
starting.
using the word loitering
Yeah,
in front of the hotel.
yes.
Who is loitering that you've seen?
I don't know who they are, but they are folks they come in for their delivery driving, they park their vehicle. They're waiting for their call to come in for their next delivery, and then when it does, they put on their backpack, they get on their moped, and they go to their next delivery, they go pick up the food from the
Right,
restaurant.
this is, they are parked, they are not loitering.
Right.
But I think what she's saying is they are not loitering, they are just parked. Like if it was, they would be in a car and they would be sitting in their car waiting for the next delivery, right?
Well, we also have folks who are there who are associated with the bikes that are hanging out on the sidewalks. 10, 15, 20 people at a time.
It's a social spot, just like it's in the Row Hotel.
Think of it like a taxi stand.
Right.
They're hanging out at the taxi stand.
Oh, they do, I mean.
And so essentially it becomes a commercial operation
Right.
in a residential block.
It gets back to the app companies don't have.
That's
I think we all.
That's a bigger discussion. So that's a bigger discussion, so, yes.
So, I mean, I think, I think where Christine is going with this is that, I mean, first of all, I don't think mopeds are really authorized to be in a bike rack, because they're motorized vehicles.
Exactly.
Whereas.
Well, I know that when we installed the bike corral on 9th Avenue early on, right, like 10 years ago, when the motorcycle, the big ones, right, at the time there were no mopeds, they were big motorcycle, and the cops would take them away.
Yeah, so,
The cops would take them away. I don't know about the moped, I presume the moped are not supposed to be parking there, but again,
so it might be an enforcement.
I'm kind of.
Where are mopeds supposed to park?
Well, I just
That's it,
Googled,
City parking.
I Googled that, but you know,
Spots.
Right,
Is
but
it,
that
is
doesn't
it like,
work.
is it one moped per parking?
No, they
Yeah, that
can,
doesn't work.
It's like motorcycles, they back in between cars.
But once you have put a corral in a parking spot,
They
it
fit in there,
makes sense.
It's
to
safer, it's
No,
safer.
no, but the key thing is, where the corral is violating many of the rules.
No, we heard that, we
So,
heard that. We got-
I think where I think we might be circling here is that, while I would agree that the parts of the bike rack that are not consistent with the DOT policy
Needs to be.
needs to, having a limited, a smaller number, we see that usually is beneficial because there are gonna be a lot of deliveries coming. So it's not about the person who's waiting for the next call, but, somebody's calling Starbucks to get a coffee delivery.
Right.
They gotta put their bicycles on, we don't want that bicycle on the sidewalk, you don't want that on the sidewalk either. So if you don't provide something on the street for that, then that bicycle is gonna be chained to your sidewalk
So
or something else.
So I think with what I would, I'm sorry, somebody else.
No.
We just wanted to
I would
follow us
propose,
staging.
I would propose, it seems to me that, breaking down the thing
Yeah.
in smaller segments, right? Spreading it over 57th Street, not just on one block, right? And then obviously they should comply with, the guidelines. And I think if we do that first step,
Right.
maybe we get somewhere, and maybe you have 4 blocks, 4 or 5 of them that work, and 1 doesn't work, right? And then you focus on that one and say, okay, what are we doing wrong here, right? Yes,
You're still gonna need a sponsor for this, no?
what?
You're still gonna need a sponsor for this.
No, we don't need sponsors anymore,
No more?
Only if they're
No.
compliant.
yes.
Okay.
So is this in the
That
hotel
seems-
loading zone or does it extend past the hotel loading zone as well?
It's directly in the hotel loading zone and extends past it.
Yeah, because the hotel loading zone are not that big.
So they did take away parking to put the bike right there.
Yes.
So they'll just try to save the hotel loading zone when the hotel reopens back up, if it ever does.
I'm sorry?
So I mean, the hotel.
We couldn't hear you.
Oh, so I mean, they could just put the bike rack in there to hold the hotel loading zone until the hotel opens back up. Instead of re-siding it for parking where there was no parking before, so residents are
No,
not.
but we split it in multiple locations, it will be still 7 parking spots, but
But it
in,
was never 7 parking spots, it was a hotel loading zone, right?
well,
It's not
whatever.
included in the parking spots, it's
okay.
like additional
Yeah.
spots.
Okay.
We do have online, we have Michael, who I'm pretty sure is going to disagree with your presentation, but we do need to hear from Michael. Do you need to move Michael over?
No.
I'm free, yeah.
Making trouble.
That's not
Can I stop sharing?
I'm setting up the stage.
Can I take the presentation down so we can see everyone?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Michael, go ahead, floor is yours.
Yeah, I lived on 57th Street for over 13 years. I would like to say, I do not support this proposal. Anything is better than, space for private vehicles. When the presenter mentioned that, the corrals have minimal to no benefit for local tax-paying residents, we can also say the same for private vehicle storage. I can't help but think of the equity issue and the equity impact that this has. When folks of certain backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds have contact with the NYPD, it does result in life-altering circumstances for many New Yorkers. I would recommend moving the corral to accommodate the said violations in terms of however many feet it needs to be, or possibly replace the corral with a trash corral. This is not the only place that trash bags are still piled on the street. I think within 5 meters west of the Watson Hotel, the apartment buildings on the south side also pile their trash on the curbside. So this is not an isolated issue, and I do not support the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, so Do we have a motion?
So sorry, so what was your?
My
idea?
motion is to say we need to break it down
Yeah.
in segments.
Yeah.
Not reduce the capacity, but in segments, put it along 57th Street, so it's not all concentrated in one place. And then comply with the guidelines, you know, whenever they install a piece of it.
We might not reach the current capacity when they make it compliant, so I think it's do the best they can.
No, there is a lot of space on 57th Street.
Yeah, I would say too that I think this was installed as part of
The crisis.
silent crisis, and it seems like the makeup of the hotel maybe was all single men at first, some more delivery drivers. So I think this and the Row Hotel, these were installed to address that, and I tend to agree with Michael that I don't like free private storage of personal vehicles, and you know, the one point that maybe I disagree with in the presentation is that when people are going to their garage, they're not gonna have visibility when there's an SUV parked there either, versus the bike rack.
No, but I mean, we are not going to restore, I mean, our proposal is not restoring any parking.
Okay.
Because we are breaking down, it's the same amount, but it's not all in one place, right?
The bike corral.
So if you have 10
I see what you mean.
10 parking, you
The
would
bike
use
corral
this.
is the right place.
Yes.
It would be, but SUVs couldn't go there.
Right.
These, be nice to break it out, because these bike corrals work really well at the end of streets, the daylight and the sector.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Because it really opens up the sightlines, people feel more comfortable popping out of cars. So they should be put at the end of the street on both ends, bilaterally, at either side, north and south. Same capacity, and they will also daylight the street at the same time.
Okay.
I mean, we're big believers in equal enforcement of the law. So we come from a
Oh,
place of
we do
equity too. And that's why we've had to work very closely with the NYPD to have, unfortunately, most of these mopeds are illegally registered. The license plates are not, they're not legal. And so there have been multiple towings of these mopeds, unfortunately, to tow yards. And so, I started the presentation by saying, I'm all for bicycles, I'm all for legal vehicles. But, I just wanna be a little wary of fostering any illegal vehicle activity on the street. And it's just something that we care about.
I think we agree on that.
Yeah, I don't think having bike corrals has any, it's going to, whether they're bike corrals or not, is going to encourage people to, or lessen their
Yes.
need for a job.
In terms of putting these racks. At the end of the block, there's a building, it's still under construction, that's not
Windermere.
right. If we're putting the racks so they'd be useful. I'm not certain, somebody said putting it towards the end of the block. It wouldn't be very useful to put that rack in front of an empty building, right? Cause if we're trying.
Why not?
Who's gonna
It's
use it?
just as you park, when you go and park, wait,
Wait.
when you go and park your car, it's like, you don't have a reserved spot in front of a busy building.
Okay.
You park it whenever you can.
Okay,
That's the
just see what-
same
okay, as long as it's
concept.
understood that it's
Yeah.
empty and there's
No,
construction.
you just need space, it's
I
a
don't
parking
have a
space.
city bike right now, I have a personal bicycle, and I'll tell you one thing that city bike has done, is made it way harder for me to actually find somewhere to just.
To park.
Lock my bike somewhere securely.
Okay.
Anywhere, so
Fine.
these are
All
really
right.
valuable.
So we need a motion, okay, second, who is
You
this?
can always get a motion.
Okay, second, all in favor? Okay, so what we'll do is write a letter along those lines, we'll copy you, it will be voted at the full board on the 6th. And then we send it to, to DOT and to you. And we'll go.
And we have the elected, since you mentioned it was an elected that got this corral there, so.
Well, this should go to the elected.
No, see the elected.
Well, obviously, it was CC.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, but you can go to the elected officials and you can go to, Eric,
This might not be Eric's sister.
what, or Gail Brewer.
We have, Councilperson Brewer several.
Yes.
And our plea has fallen on deaf ears.
Okay. All right, we copy her on
Yeah.
the letter.
Thank you.
And we know her very well and say, look, because I think they may not understand what you said, you know, there is a new bike track
Yeah.
inside. And that this is taken care of,
Yeah.
essentially.
The need is not as strong as it once was.
Am I correct in saying
Need for it.
it's public access for anybody, you don't have to?
That I'm not sure of, I don't want to give an answer.
Well,
I don't know.
that's all the more reason why we
But
should.
then we'll have the other pieces.
Move to the
that
corner.
Go
Exactly.
around.
Probably more
Okay.
people.
All right. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah,
putting
thank you,
such
thanks for
a.
the, even without them popping up one at a time.
You did good, you did good.
And you heard earlier, we voted against drug use, so we're all.
Yeah. We're on record against drug use. Don't run.
Michael.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys, thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a great night.
And final piece, so I sent you all around the points of agreement which have been signed with Port Authority. And I wanted everybody to look at it and to read it. And if you have any questions about it, I mean, I think we've got a whole bunch of things which are very good. We have a pilot starting to try to close one of the entrances to the port, to
Thank you,
the
Robert.
tunnel. So that's going to be exciting to see whether it's going to last for 1 year. We have a commitment from them that they are going to look at all the intersection and possibly change the signal timing so that we don't have congestion, and we'll work on that. And then we got a lot of benefits around the sidewalks, widening of the sidewalks. On 39th Street, we are going to have like a super sidewalk going from 9 to 11. So that it would connect from, you know, the park, you know that they were going to do 2 parks right there. So we'll be able to go from 34th Street, go up to the park, to go to 39, take a super sidewalk and go down on the park that's on the Hudson Boulevard farm. And go back to the High Line. So that would be able to do a big view there, which is kind of very cool.
That is very cool.
Right. So, and we are closing obviously 41st Street between 8 and 9 to make it like the grand entrance. And all these sidewalks around the buildings are going to be compliant with the new mobility plan, pedestrian mobility plan. So the sidewalks are really going to be terrific. And then we have everything which faces, every part of the building which is facing the sidewalk is going to have a business, a retail. So it's going to be activated. And not like the wall, like we have today, all of them. And internally, we're going to have a space for community space for the community board, or maybe a conference room where we can have the big meetings.
Oh, really?
And
A dedicated space?
right, and the bid and.
Wow.
So we're going to have 10,000 square feet, that's a lot of square feet, right? So that's going to happen, obviously, 10 years from now, right? All that stuff. But,
Long time.
but you know, I think what we have done is laid out the future in a way which is going to be very exciting for the people who live there. When it's finished, right?
Community members to gamble.
Right. So that's what we got. And the other thing we got is that there are not going to be any connect grids on the sidewalks. They are all going to be inside the buildings. So we can plant trees everywhere. Not, you know the problem, right? There is a grid, we can't plant it, but we're going to be able to have a tree every 25 feet. Without failing. So I think the public space is going to be really, really cool. Yes.
This is phenomenal, I love it. The quick questions, until things really get implemented, you put the dog on in the triangle.
Yes.
Are we gonna create special accessibility to get from, because there's gonna be traffic around there and all that, are they gonna create?
These are ramps right now. There are ramps, this is a sidewalk, if you go to the triangle, there
Right,
are
but
ramps
it's-
going up and down.
So they'll make special, will they do anything different?
For ADA dogs,
Not ADA dogs, people checking their dogs and all that, 'cause it's so much.
there are ramps, I walk there all the time. There are ramps and you go from the street to the ramp to the sidewalk and, you know.
Okay, and also on point 7, about the heavy vehicles. I know they have to be done, sometimes these heavy big vehicles have to be done during off hours, but could we limit it to like at 11 o'clock?
What do you mean 11 heavy vehicle?
Like,
For construction?
yeah, and all that.
Oh, the objective is that it finishes at 11 o'clock,
Okay,
but they will have exception, obviously.
Well, we've got to be really mindful of exceptions. Also, the scaffolding design. Will the community have some input on the design? Because if it's done shoddy in scaffoldings, it'll create bad.
No, and we have in there, a plan, we will have a committee to look at the social impacts of the construction. Meaning what happens under the scaffold.
Right,
So
we really
it's like there will be a group that is looking at that, so we will have
Will
that.
be part of that group too, so.
We are part of all the groups,
Okay,
we are part of all the groups.
okay, so if you need me, I'll be on that.
Definitely.
Scaffolding, but I mean,
Scaffolding, okay.
because it's
I put
very.
it down, I put you down.
No, I'm just saying, I just was
All
very.
meetings take place underneath.
Yeah.
All right.
We took care of that.
So this
So
is,
that's what's happening.
like I said, this is a great plan. Unfortunately, by 2035, we lose it all.
I know, but
I would just like to say, if you haven't had a chance, I mean, this is like an incredible document that is actually like directly coming out of the community board in Christine, like, this is an incredible amount of work that went into this to get these concessions and these promises. This is not something that
But
like,
we've gotta make absolutely sure that some of us are still
alive.
on the community board.
Sure.
Well,
Hey,
because there's been a lot of big switch with the
This
lights
is good, no, and there is now, there will be a schedule of every 3 months reviewing the points of agreement. So this is in the points of agreement, it says.
You reviewing that?
Huh?
Who's reviewing them? You? Who's checking it, like? the
Every
board
3
review?
months.
Oh, yeah, no, I have created a schedule for all the things we have to do.
So it is you.
And
You're
then,
meeting with
and
the
then
board
there
voting
is,
every few
there
months?
is our group, the meeting with the board, and we may, expand that group. So that they can once a year, and the elected officials are going to check also once a year.
Yes.
And take that and say, okay, is it done, is it not done, what's the problem, etc. While we are doing the day-to-day stuff, So there are a whole set of schedules, and we have now a schedule of when things are starting, what year, what half. Project, like a project plan. So I send them the project plan, I say, here's the project.
But there are items on the Hudson NRDs which weren't as intended, like
Right.
how long did it take them to finally put the shed
Yes,
back inside when they got
Right.
that credited as public open?
so that's something where.
That we have to remember.
It felt, that's the lesson learned.
Yeah.
We've learned from the failure in the past and say, okay, this we're going to, plus, a lot of us live right around it, so this is going to be everyday stuff. But believe me, for 4 years, it's going to be a mess, because they are going to take all the people who come through the terminal, right? And they are going to put them on the building, which is west of 9th Avenue, and on the platform. So every morning, the 250,000 people are going to cross 9th Avenue to go to the subway.
Good thing we'll have a super sidewalk.
Right.
But we got no slot machines on those sidewalks, we've got our own.
Right, so but I'm saying, picture that, right, it's just, and then the buses are going to go during the street, etc. So it's going to be very, very messy, but at the end of the day, it's going to completely change the neighborhood, I think. But thank you for saying that, yes, this was a bear to do.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
It's awesome, right,
I have another question on something else.
okay,
As part of the extension that we did from the High Line into Manhattan.
yes,
What had to happen to the bridge over the highway? Wasn't there supposed to be another extension?
On the other side,
On the other
Yes.
side, on the west side?
Here,
nothing, and now that was supposed to be part of the western rail yard. And now with the new rezoning, etc., who knows? Now, there is also, oh, we should brief them on the west, on the highway. You want to brief them?
No, you do.
Oh.
Who wants to walk the highway? That's the question.
So there is a new project, 1 year ago, we sent a letter saying we should add, take away a lane of the highway. We sent that.
Yeah,
forward.
but they know about it, we got the presentation on the,
Oh, yeah.
on the study, we just had the
So
first
we
meeting
just
about
had
it.
the first meeting, and it was a very good meeting and very constructive and.
It was crap. No,
Right.
supposed to.
What?
I wasn't.
It really wasn't, it was not,
Okay, no.
it
This
was,
was all about process.
yeah, it was the same presentation all over again.
But it's going to be, they are going to collect, we're going to collect all the people and everybody who wants to participate and get input. There's going to be a walkthrough at the end of January to walk the block, so we will invite you to walk the blocks.
All walk in the park.
And all the blocks of the park, and then, so they are really organized to have extensive outreach. And,
Well, they have 2 years to do this, right?
yeah,
To the end of 26.
yeah.
I really hope I'm here for that.
I have,
That's a district report.
you started, I mean, I feel like I'm getting hives when you mentioned those 250,000 people.
It's in my street, so it's not.
Yeah, right.
Don't worry.
No, I am worried because I lived with LaGuardia Airport
Yes.
being a disaster.
Yeah, it is going to be a disaster.
But it's.
But if we
Especially the party in the middle of it.
We should.
That's a great analogy.
People learn.
Yeah, and now we love the party.
You know, like several decades ago,
What's
there
that?
actually was an.
So LeBron, yes,
for that part of
It's going to be
the-
enormous.
It was a disaster.
But the disaster is, we told them you probably have to close maybe 9th Avenue in the morning.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
Never built.
You may have to close 9th Avenue at 42nd Street.
Okay,
And then, so those discussions are going to take
Okay.
place. But it's going to be crazy.
yeah, but.
When is
I
it gonna
mean,
get
it
back?
doesn't
3
have
years?
to be.
Huh?
When is it gonna get bad? In 2 years, 3 years?
First it's going to get bad because they are doing the platforms, right? So I don't know where the construction stuff is going to be. And then, no, in about 3 years, in 28. It's going to be, that's when it's going to be really bad, I think.
Applying to middle schools, I want to take the M11 bus down 9th Avenue to get to the middle school at 17th Street. Well, for 3 years, I'm okay.
3 years, okay.
Okay. Is there anything else left in the business portion of the?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, there's a motion to adjourn.
Adjourning to 24.
Yeah,
Adjourning to 24.
Thank you, thank you very much, Michael, thank you, Dean,
Yeah.
But they have actually like demonstrably learned and improved over these projects. I'm saying that it'd be perfect.